I've already inserted a jQuery UI accordion in this page to accommodate a large amount of information in a small space. It's a series of collapsible panels. Click the heading of one, it slides up to reveal the content and closes the previous panel. In this lesson, I'm going to show you a similar space-saving widget, jQuery UI tabs. Instead of collapsible panels, each panel has a tab at the top, which when clicked reveals the content. So let's get to work in Dreamweaver. Incidentally, if you need a copy of the files, you can find them in the Using jQuery UI Widgets and Effects folder of the course assets. I'm going to put my tabs in the main column here, just after the penultimate paragraph, so I'll click at the end of that paragraph, then go to the Insert panel, make sure that jQuery UI is selected, and then Tabs, it's the second item. And that inserts a tabs widget. Dreamweaver needs some extra files to work with this, so save the page. And you get this copy dependent files notice. I've already inserted an accordion widget, so there's only a couple of new files that are needed for a tabs widget. But if it's the first widget that you're inserting in a site, then you'll get a much longer list of files. So just click OK. And then let's take a quick look at the underlying HTML. Open split view. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see that the widget is just a div. At the top it's got an unordered list. These are the tabs here. And then you've got a series of divs which contain content. So because they're ordinary divs, you can put anything that you would put in a div. So let's close split view. And I'm going to select the first tab and replace the text there. Now don't worry about the fact that the text has wrapped there. When the page is viewed in live view or in a browser, it will look fine. And I'm going to select the placeholder text here, the content. In the course assets there's a rich text file with some text that you can paste in. I'm going to paste it in doing paste special, Control-Shift-V on Windows, Command-Shift-V on a Mac. And then just select OK, and there are my two paragraphs of text. And to show that you can put anything in one of these panels, I'm going to put my insertion point at the beginning of the first paragraph and then insert image, image, go to the images folder and select bridalveil.jpg and click OK. And in the class field of the property inspector, open that, select apply multiple classes. I'm going to remove rounded. That's been picked up from one of the outer elements, and what I want to do, I'll leave shadow selected, but I'll select float left and then click OK. To add content to the other tabs or to the other panels, just mouse over and then click that eye icon. That opens it ready for editing. But rather than spend time on that, I want to have a look at the other properties that you can set in the Property Inspector. To expose the properties for a tabs widget, click the blue tab at the top. That opens up the Property Inspector. You can add or remove extra panels with these plus and minus buttons here, and you can reorganize them with the up and down arrows. The active field determines which panel is displayed by default. jQuery UI uses JavaScript, so the numbers are from 0. So 0 is the first one, 1 is the second panel, 2 is the third panel, and so on. Let's just demonstrate that. I'm going to change this to 2, so that should set the third panel to open by default. And if I turn on Live View and scroll down, there is the third panel displayed, so it's working as expected. But let's just exit Live View and go into Split View and scroll right down to the bottom. This is the JavaScript that controls the tabs widget, and the version of Dreamweaver that I'm using uses the selected property. This works because the version of jQuery UI that Dreamweaver is currently using is 1.9, which still supports selected. If you change the jQuery UI files to 1.10 or above, it will no longer work. You need to change this to active. However, I'm going to undo that, and then I'm going to go back to the Property Inspector. And I don't want the third one to be the default panel, so I'm just going to change that back to 0. Now the next option, event, the options are click and mouse over. That's what will open the next panel. Click is obviously the default. Height style. Sadly, there's also a problem with this in Dreamweaver. The version of Dreamweaver that I'm using assumes the default is auto, the same as for an accordion widget, but it's actually content. So what does each option mean? Well, auto means that all panels are set to the height of the tallest panel. Let's open this, see the other two options. Fill bases the height on the tab's parent height, and content, each panel is only as tall as its content. If you want to use auto, you have to set another value and then change it manually in code view. So let's go select content, then go into split view, go back down there. It has set height style to content. You need to change that to auto. And if we now test that in live view, scroll down, there's the height of the first one. The second one, although it's got very little content in it, is the same height, and the same with tab 3. So let's continue our exploration. Let's go out of live view, select that tab. The final options down here at the bottom left, disabled will disable the tabbed panel. Collapsible. If you select this option, what happens is that if you click the tab of the currently open panel, the panel itself collapses and all you see left are the tabs at the top. Hide and show let you select all sorts of different effects for how the panel will be hidden. So you can have it sliding out, you can have it shaking out, you can have it pulsating, doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. The default is none. If you select one of these values, Dreamweaver puts 400 in this field alongside. That's 400 milliseconds, the duration of the effect. And the same with show, but I'm going to leave it at the default none. And finally, orientation. You can have either horizontal or vertical tabs. Horizontal tabs fill the available width, but vertical tabs are more difficult to control. You need to set the width yourself in the jQuery UI styles. So that's the jQuery UI tabs widget. The tabs are an unordered list, and each panel is a div that can take any HTML content. The options are very similar to the accordion widget. But I drew your attention to a couple of problems with active and with height style in the version of Dreamweaver that I'm using. Hopefully they'll be fixed in an update.